I forgot to record earlier. So as we said, tonight's topic is empathetic listening. And so what I would like everyone to do, first of all, is put in the chat box what you think one or two qualities of a good listener are. Present. Body language. It's good.
I don't seem to be able to add anything into this chat, but
Attention. Eye contact. I like that. Less talking. Full attention. Listen more than speaks. Yeah, all good. All good. I'd like you all to think of a time when you were in conversation with somebody and it was quite obvious to you that they weren't listening. What did you notice? Maybe you could unmute and just say, or if you want to put it in the chat, that's also fine.
I'm just letting you know, Neil, that the chat doesn't seem to work for me. Like I keep pressing on the chat and it does, the keyboard stuff doesn't come up to type in it. So
okay, thank you. Lisa, I think you just need to unmute.
No, you can't hear you.
No.
Okay.
Neil, maybe you can do it as a first. I don't know.
I'm just looking to see if I can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I was pressing the wrong thing. I was pressing the one in the corner, not down the bottom. My fault,
Okay.
sorry. I was going to say, when I've had a conversation, if I feel that I'm not being listened to, is when they're not actually, they're sort of just nodding and not giving me any feedback. That's kind of my experiences.
I'm laughing because I'm sitting there nodding.
Yeah, no, it's like when you're sort of having a long conversation and they're not really saying much back to you.
Thank you. What else?
Yeah,
sorry.
You go ahead.
Okay, I was just thinking in my kids, sometimes when they ask a question and they immediately engage with something else and they are like, and then they come back and ask the same question again. But this is just kids. Oksana, sorry.
I'm just had experience when I in a conversation with this person, but my questions being ignored, which felt really strange and unpleasant. Which is that's people shouldn't do that. I feel like if you are in conversation, you it's both of you.
Thank you. How do you feel when people get these things out and start scrolling?
This is the first thing when you said that I put it in the chat because it's like you cannot really listen to anyone if you're just like checking your phones. No.
One thing I would say, because I've got a son obviously with ADHD and me having ADHD, that sometimes it's really hard. Like the only way sometimes that you can tell we're listening is we kind of sort of jump in and sort of give a story that resonates with the story that they've told us, and that's kind of our way of showing that we listen. But sometimes, you know, some people can speak to me and my son and it will go in, but then my mind will wander off to something else, and it's not us being rude, it's just how our brain works. But I'm getting a lot better at it, but my son still, I have to get him to repeat back to me so I know he's listened.
This is really true, and my neighbor has the same, and it's very, very helpful that she always reminds me that she has the ADHD, and also her son as well, because she does that. Like I'm telling her something, and she always has a story, and now it doesn't annoy me anymore, you know, because I understand. Yeah, so it's good that you can talk about it.
Yeah, sorry. It's our way of saying we've understood what you're saying, and it's kind of pinged a you know, a memory for us. But yeah.
One of the things that really annoys me is when people cut me up in the middle of a sentence. Because it's obvious to me that they're not wanting to listen, or they're only listening for what's important to them.
Or the opposite, what my partner sometimes does. He'll just be like, yeah, you know, like just distracted and just answering as if you're listening, but actually not.
Husband listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure it's not true.
And often people, they try to listen, but they also think about what to tell in the same time. So as an aftermath, they don't really listen. They don't understand what's been said.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I think you can often also hear it just what they're answering back, if they're listening or not, if it makes sense, or if that often is often a proof if they're really listening or if they're just pretending.
People just saying like I don't know how to say that no, there are no original sentences, just like pre-made sentences that fit in every situation. It's like I have to say something, I will say that, but you can feel it's not authentic, or they don't really feel it. They just want to, you know, put a plaster on what you have just shared.
Yeah.
I also feel very annoyed when I tell something people and I might ask a question or don't ask a question, but their reply is always and the whole conversation, even if we change topic, is like that, and you like feeling frustrated because you're trying to keep conversation going, but there's no feedback at all, and only yes or no. It feels very frustrating.
And at the same time, sometimes, oh, sorry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, don't worry. I think a lot of you have mentioned irritation and annoyance, but I actually, when I'm in a situation like that, when I feel like someone's not listening to what I've got to say, it can often make me feel quite insecure and like feel like I am not interesting. And so instead of just, yeah, it depends on the context, because there are some situations where I can feel annoyed if it's somebody that I love and care about and know that loves me and cares about me. But if it's in a new situation, like meeting new people, and I start talking about something and I can see them trailing off, then I kind of start worrying that I am, you know, talking too much. I'm not talking about stuff that's interesting to them, that I'm not, you know, socially correct or right or whatever. And so there comes that there's like the element of insecurity.
And I was gonna say that sometimes it just is the opposite. You need just somebody there just looking at you and nodding, maybe not saying anything, because you just need to share something. And people sometimes don't get that and start giving you so many tips and advices, or try to do that, have you done this? And it's not what you need. You just needed to to share something important, maybe.
Thank you. So it seems like all of us intuitively understand when someone is listening to us and when they're not, and we understand the impact that has on us. And here's the thing, assuming you're medically able, everybody can hear, but not everybody listens. And listening is a choice, but it's also a skill. And the wonderful thing about skills is you can learn them. You really can. And we're going to dive into that a little bit now. And so from my perspective, I teach that there are 4 levels of listening. If you Google levels of listening, you will find lots of theories from 3 to 5 to 8. It doesn't really matter. But I think that there are these 4 levels. Level 1, or number 1, is passive listening, which Catherine talked about, which is when someone's just not really listening to you. They may be in the room, but they're not emotionally and spiritually there. They're physically there, but they're just not listening. Or maybe they catch the odd word. It's just obvious they're not listening. And I think that goes on a huge amount. Number 2 is conversational listening. And I think this is probably where most listening takes place. And it's okay. I'm not saying it's a bad level of listening. But ostensibly, conversational listening is when we're listening for me so that I can then speak about me and my experiences. I was talking to somebody recently and said I may have to go to India in January to scatter my father's ashes there. And instantly she was, oh, I love India. I've always wanted to go. And I just thought, okay, very conversational. And I have to learn, don't be offended by that, because this is when most listening takes place. Level 3 is what we call empathetic listening. And this is where I listen for you so that you can be seen, heard, and understood. Not so that I can hear and understand you. And particularly in this kind of work, it's not essential that I understand you, but that you feel seen, heard, and understood. And I think there is a higher level of listening, which I call intuitive listening. And this is where we're listening for what isn't being communicated, but maybe wants to be communicated. On Friday last week, I was working with a client, and he's quite a high up executive, and he was talking about something. And he talked for about 8-10 minutes about this, but it was what was coming through to me loudly was that there was something he was uncomfortable about. You could just sense his unease about what he was talking about. And so I was then able to form a question and said, would you be willing to just drop into your body and just notice if there's anything that's feeling uneasy about this meeting? And then instantly he went into it. So we're listening at that level. But after a while, so we're going to learn empathetic first, but as we go throughout our program of learning, we are going to also learn how to listen intuitively. And as circle leaders, you will find this to be something that's very helpful that you tune in to the group, you tune into the room, and you get a sense that people want to talk about something or they don't want to talk about something, and you're able to tune into that. So what is empathetic listening? So empathetic listening is where we are listening so that the other person can hear themselves. So, and we are listening for facts, we're listening for feelings, we are listening for the intention behind the words, and we are listening at a level that it helps validate their experience. So, Oksana, could you just unmute for a second? I know I've given you zero warning about this. But could you tell me about the last holiday you went on, and tell me 3 or 4 things you did on that holiday that you're willing to confess to the whole group?
Confess, is it supposed to be something bad? Okay, my last holiday was in December. Me and my partner, we went to oh God, forgot for a moment. We went to Tenerife in Spain. So what I did there, it was Christmas. I was driving around, very exciting because there are curvy roads and everything. I went for a swim in the cold water, very refreshing. And I ate a lot of nice seafood.
So if we were listening at level 0, we wouldn't have really heard anything of that. Or you might have just heard the swim, or you might have heard the word Christmas. But if you were listening at the level of facts, what would we have heard? Unmute, tell me what you heard.
A holiday in Tenerife.
Yeah.
Cold water swim.
Yeah.
And the other one was eating seafood.
And driving.
Driving on curvy roads.
And it was
What else?
exciting.
It was exciting.
It was with her partner.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's everything that she disclosed in there.
Sorry, may I add that I felt that Oksana had really good time, and her smile and her eyes showed that without particular details.
Thank you. Interesting. She was smiling, her eyes lit up. She said it was exciting. The body language, she moved forward a little bit. We could hear the feelings that were there. What about intention? Was there any sense of intention?
Sorry, what do you mean by this?
What was impactful to her? So at one level, it could be impactful to her. Talking about a holidays is not necessarily helpful in understanding full intentions. But so just to answer Dorothy's question, I was talking to somebody and saying I don't like Tuesdays anymore, because Tuesdays was the evening that I would always phone my father, but now he's recently died. And then I said, But I did phone his phone the week after he died in the hope that he was going to answer it, knowing full well he didn't. But was annoyed that the Virgin Media voice just answered the phone. And this person was listening at such a deep level, said, "What was it that you wanted to say to him?" And she heard the intention in what I was saying. And I just burst out in tears, as I'm in danger of doing now. I just said I wanted to tell him that I loved him. And I was sorry for being an arsehole for most of my life. So she tuned into the intention. But talking about 4 things you did on holiday doesn't necessarily give you a lot of sense of intention, apart from 2 words.
Can I say something? I think,
yeah.
I don't know, I could feel the fact that she was going on Christmas. I don't know when she said it was Christmas. And then she gave all the details, and I could feel that it was like because Christmas is always like a difficult moment sometimes when you are not around your family. So I could feel that it was really exciting and really fun, but at the same time, like making it special with her partner, and at the same time just a little bit, maybe, I don't know,
Yes,
nostalgic, I don't know.
Very good. Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, but like doesn't and sorry not to this might be a bit controversial, but doesn't that more mean that we're putting on this feeling like we feel like that Christmas is important and therefore Oksana should like therefore there must be some kind of, you know, but then also we don't know what Oksana's religious beliefs are, so maybe for her Christmas isn't a big deal and stuff.
But it was more an intuitive feeling more than a belief itself. Yeah, I know specifically religious or anything.
All we're doing is we're tuning into intention, and sometimes it's helpful. So like the person I was speaking to yesterday tuned into intention of why I wanted to be able to speak to my father, and offered that back to me as a question. What was it that you wanted to say? And that brought out of me everything. And intuitively, was there anything that you would have picked up in what Oksana said?
I think I just felt like that she felt some excitement about like exploring, I mean, during her travels. I mean, this like the curvy road, it was probably quite exciting, something adventurous a bit. Then swimming in the cold water is also kind of more adventurous. It's something explorative. It's trying something that is maybe, yeah, just taking the moment, just trying something new, some kind of being very spontaneous of it. Something like that. I think I saw that a bit in her face, that those memories maybe came up again.
Brilliant. Yeah, that was what I tuned into when she said it was exciting, but when she said about the curvy road, that intuitively jumped out for me as being like, wow, there's something about that road being curvy that there's something going on there. And I think positively, not negatively. And so, again, we're not tuning in so we understand. We're tuning in so that the other person can feel seen, heard, and understood. And so we might offer that back. And so we may, as we're reflecting the fact, so you went on a holiday at Christmas with your partner and you went to Tenerife. and you enjoyed your holiday and you swam in the cold water and you drove on these curvy roads. And at that point, we may offer something like, and that sounds kind of a big deal for you. And then we might just pause. So, in empathetic listening, we are listening for facts, we're listening for feelings, we're listening for the intent behind the words, and we are looking for what we are listening so that we can help validate their experience. So, what I would say is that, no, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. So how do we listen empathetically? So, I have 10 points here, but don't worry. I will drop this into the WhatsApp group afterwards. But it's not as difficult as 10 points sounds. So number one is, remember we said listening is a choice. So we set an intention to be of service to the other person. And that's really helpful. Just to say to myself, I choose now to listen to Oksana. I choose to be of service. Number two is we then become fully present. Maybe we turn off our phone. If we're worried about something. The other day when I was listening to someone, all that was going through my mind was these forms that I'm going to need for the Indian embassy to get permission to take my dad's ashes. And I just couldn't get these voices out my head. And so I just said to the person, could I just pause you for a moment? I just need to write something down that'll help me listen better. And I wrote down on my pad, figure out how to get this permission from the Indian embassy, think about it after lunch. And when I did that, it just went. We need to be fully present. Number three is we create an emotional connection. And we do that again through our intention of, I am here for you. Just even saying that to ourselves, I am here for you, creates an emotional intention. I'm just going to adjust my screen. So on the workshop, I think we talked about that the heart generates electricity, and electricity always has a magnetic field around it. And scientists understand this way better than I do, but the heart sends out a magnetic field of radiance around it. So whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling about the other person comes out in that. So one of the things that can be really helpful is just to say to yourself, I'm here for you. And that drops into our heart. Now we have to mean it. Can't be, yeah, whatever, I'm here for you. No, that's teenager behavior. But when we just drop into our heart and just go, yeah, Nashira, I'm here for you. That comes out and it creates an emotional connection. It doesn't mean to say the other person is going to suddenly feel warm and cuddly and want, emotional connection with you. But at least they will sense that you're open and that you're here for them. And that's really, really powerful. Number four, we set aside any judgments. I am the world's worst at this. I really am. I struggle to practice what I preach. Over the last couple of years, I've done a lot of training online on Zoom. And inevitably, I find myself scanning the gallery, looking at people thinking, oh my goodness, they're a nutter. Look at the state of their bedroom. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to talk to them. And I find myself making all these judgments. Now, I know you would never do it. You're all too nice. But I do. We, as humans, make judgment. It don't have to be negative. We just make judgments about people. And we have to learn to set those aside. And again, the quickest way to set those aside is by saying, I am here for you. Because we're choosing to make space for the other person. So that all can be done in fractions of seconds. In even just saying, I'm here for you, does all the above. Now, once we've done that, we then begin to place all of our attention on the other person. And there are these, attention is made up of two things. There's awareness and there is attention. So we become aware of the space, first of all. We then become aware of the other person. We become aware of the space between us. And all of that can unsettle us. So I could look at Oksana and think, she looks angry with me. But she's not. But we become aware of this. And Oksana and I were on a call the other night as part of another group. And we noticed I think it was Oksana noticed one of the people in our group, we were doing intuitive readings, just seemed really tired and stressed. So we become aware of that. But then we bring all of our attention to the other person. And we then begin to listen actively and empathetically. And remember, we're listening for the facts, the feelings, the intention behind what they're saying, and also the impact on ourselves and the other person. So it's really important, this sense of the impact on self and the other person. And I would say, focus it 8 out of 10 times on the other person and 20% on you. So we could have said to Oksana, that sounds like the curvy road was really important to you. So we're sharing impact. What we don't want to go is, oh, it sounds like the water seems cold. Well, she said the water was cold. But when someone was listening for me yesterday and I broke down over my father and just wanting to hear his voice, she said, she reflected back to me the facts, the feelings, what was going on. And she said, as I'm listening to you, I just feel like energy is being pulled out of me. And I can't imagine how difficult that is to lose a parent. So she shared the impact on herself. And I thought, yes, that's it. It feels like I've had something pulled out of me. And by her sharing the impact on herself without making it about her, made me feel validated. It took me from a place of being embarrassed that I cried. And when I cry ugly. Snot out my nose, shaking. I don't cry well, you know. But when she said that, it felt like something being pulled out of me. I thought, yes, 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 that's it. You validated my entire experience. And I was just like, wow. And I felt this heaviness lift off me. And it was just, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. So we're listening. Then number 7 is we always wait 20 to 30 seconds before speaking. Now, I know for people when they're starting to listening, 20 to 30 seconds will seem like 8.5 months. You will hate it. You will feel like one of those old westerns where the tumbleweed just comes through the town. But we always are assuming the other person has some more to say. They may not, but we should always assume they have more to say. And when we are silent, but we're keeping all our attention on the other person, we're creating an invitation for them to carry on. Henri Nouwen, the French, I think French might have been Swiss, a theologian and philosopher, said listening is the greatest form of hospitality, because we create a space of welcome for the other to step into. So we should always wait 20 to 30 seconds. Now, as we go through this, and when we meet in person in a couple of weeks, we'll talk about how to use silence. But for now, there's silence A and there's silence B. This is silence A. We just wait 20 to 30 seconds. And you will, if you're new to this, you'll feel uncomfortable. You will, but get used to it. Then when we start to speak, we reflect back to them. Now we reflect back what we heard them say. Now there is a limit to this. Oksana knows this individual, but I won't say who they are. But there's a lady that I've mentored who once spoke for 57 minutes without drawing breath. 57 minutes. That's the longest anyone's ever talked without pausing. Can I seriously reflect back everything she said in that? No, I can't. I can't. So we have to be realistic about this. But we are reflecting back to them, and we are trying to use their words as much as possible. Because when we use our words, we're using our interpretation, and it's not helping the other person. And if you forget, you can say, I know you didn't use this word, but I heard this. That's perfectly acceptable. But we are reflecting back to people what they said. And sometimes, we're not trying to, read back everything they've said. We can summarize that. And we'll talk more about that later. Then we acknowledge their feelings. Then we acknowledge intention, what it is they're wanting. And then we share impact. Now, we don't necessarily have to do all four of these things all of the time. This is where it takes skill and practice to learn, oh, actually, maybe I just need to give a little bit more space. So when we were at the workshop, I remember Lisa talking about something personal to her. And all I did was reflect back the sense of would it be all right for me to share this? So Lisa said, I've often felt alone. And she talked about a number of things. But I said, so ever since I said, like me, from being a child and a teenager, you've always felt alone. So she talked for a few minutes, but that's all I chose to reflect back, because it was the fact she'd said, as a child, as a teenager, and now as an adult. Didn't need to say that because it's obvious. So I just reflected back, because she started with just the same as you, Neil. So I said, as like me, as a child and as a teenager, you've always felt alone. And I just left it there. That's all I shared. Because the assumption is there's more to say. And so it's best I shut up and just allow those words there to land. Now, if that was one-to-one, I'm sure Lisa would have talked a lot more, but it was open in a group and people are then mindful of like, oh, should I be talking? Is this right? Is it safe? And everything else. But so when we start, it's perfectly acceptable to be reflecting back what they say, the feelings, and they acknowledge the intention. And then after a while, Lisa talked, and then sharing impact, and then so we share impact, and then we ask open-ended questions. And I'm just going to end on these two before opening up for questions. We embody the space. What do we mean by embodying the space? Well, as silence has an A and a B, embodying has an A and a B. So A is embodying discomfort. So if that person is reacting in a way, is the silence is making you feel uncomfortable, if someone's talking about something that you have a very strong opinion on and everything in you wants to say no, you have to embody the discomfort. You have to allow yourself to feel it. You have to allow it to go away. Easier said than done, but it is doable. Well, what I would say, embodiment is a practice. You'll get so far with it and then you'll hit walls. And that's because there's things in you that need to be released. You release those, and now you carry on and then you hit the next wall. Okay, there's stuff that needs to be released. And it's a lifetime's journey. But the thing is, when you feel discomfort, you can just go, there's a part of me that's feeling uncomfortable about this. And that's okay. Embodiment B is where we are infusing the space with energy, where again we can drop the intention, peace, acceptance, calm, whatever it is. Often when I see people distressed, I will just say to myself, I am the one that brings peace. And that just goes out. And I've had people talk to me afterwards and say, suddenly I just felt like this peace. And I'd be like, and I don't say it because it's not about me. But I've been in, when I've held space for people, I've sensed that they just want to be wrapped up in a blanket. So I picture a blanket of peace just wrapping around them. I'll never forget this lady afterwards. She said it was like someone stood behind me and put a blanket of peace around me. I'm thinking, bloody hell, this stuff's powerful, isn't it? So there's embodiment A and embodiment B. And then we embrace silence. So A is waiting 20 to 30 seconds. And then B is waiting longer than that. Allowing people to sit in the silence. And sometimes we have to say to people, so I may say, okay, Lisa, I'm sensing that there's a lot going on for you there. So I'm just going to be quiet for a little while and give you a chance to sit with that. Would that be okay? And it's up to her. She may go no, or she may go thank you. But now the silence is her silence and not my silence. So now I don't break it. If she wants 57 minutes, she can have 57 minutes. But we use our eyes. If it's obvious Lisa is no longer in the silence and is checking her phone, looking around, then we can say, we can break the silence. And I'm sure you're going to ask me, how do we break the silence? And for the life of me, I can't think of it. But if you ask me that tomorrow, I will know. Oh, we have a new guest joining us. Oh, bless her. So, thoughts, questions, comments?
One thing I want to say is that I've always been quite not liking silence. So say I've been on a sort of dates with men, and sometimes you get that kind of awkward silence. I feel like I have to fill it, feel the silence, and so it's something that's quite interesting and something I'm quite keen on pursuing and learning to be more comfortable with that silence. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'd like to share. I remember the first session with Neil, and Neil was doing this this pauses for 20-30 seconds, maybe longer. And I remember I was so uncomfortable in that silence. I was panicking, like I have to say something. But then, like as you go, like as you move forward, you just get more and more comfortable with it. And especially after our trainings, it feels completely different now. So there's no panic anymore or anything, or urge if you need to feel it. You just can be with it. Yeah. Just wanted to share.
Thank you. Yeah, I love what Lisa said there. We are so conditioned to feel silence is awkward, something to be filled. And I guess on a date it probably is. But when we're holding space for people one-on-one or as a group, silence is our big friend.
I'm just going to say, for me, it's very interesting because my background is in social research, where I've done a lot of interviewing of people to understand how they feel about things and to share their experiences. But for me, it's quite, the object has always been to really, really understand what they're saying. So it's kind of the concept of it being more about mirroring back what they're saying, and it doesn't even actually matter that I'm 100% understanding what they're saying. The main thing is to make them feel understood and listened to. It's really interesting how it's just that slightly different approach that I'm looking forward to learning more about.
And I personally take these tips that you've been giving about, like, when you are, in a situation when someone is very stressed, because it's true that you can feel the difference when you're in a day that you are more balanced. You can really feel how you can handle it, and you can bring the person to the other side of the river, or sometimes you just get caught up in their energy and you end up with the same, like. And I love this sentence you said, I'm the one, like, just like forgetting a little bit about the clouds that the person is bringing, and I'm the one who brings peace. You said that. I loved it. And the blanket as well.
So when we're listening empathetically, what's the first thing we do?
Being there. The first thing must be being there in the moment, isn't it? I don't know.
I would set intention to be there and to be available for this person.
How do we create emotional connection?
Looking at the person's eye and saying their name, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And using a kind voice and relaxed.
Obviously, with your body language as well, being quite sort of open with your body language.
Opening the space, I mean, in yourself also, and your heart, and trying to just feel, maybe just feel what's between yourself and the person. I mean, just kind of trying to silently just feel, just sensing.
And maybe using this, I'm here for you, what you said before.
Yes. Well done, Natalia. That's what I was looking for. Just that sense of everything you've said is correct. But if we just drop that into our heart space, I am here for you, that radiates out. And once we start listening, what are we listening for?
We're listening for the facts and also the feelings.
Yeah, brilliant. What else?
What is really behind the story, as Oksana was talking about holiday can be something really like plain, but there is always something behind the story.
Listening to the intention that is behind them.
And when someone's finished speaking, what do we do?
You have silence for 22 seconds, roughly.
Did I say seconds? I meant minutes. No, I am joking.
57 minutes.
And also then you validate their experience.
So a good acronym is the word wait. Why am I talking? So we wait. And then we begin what we said was conscious communication, where we're reflecting back to people. Now, we don't necessarily have to reflect all four every time, but if we were, what are we reflecting back to everyone?
I think you always start with what you have noticed is more impact. It has more impact on the person about their experience. Like if it was, for example, you said about Lisa, and she said about the silence or the curvy roads. So you may start from that. Like seems like this is important for you. I don't know.
And even before that.
Thank you.
Like reflect back what they said, but use their own words like a mirror.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. And then after what they said,
I was going to say, obviously, and try not to be judgmental. And even if you do feel some way about it, is to let it go. Just feel that emotion and just sort of let it go.
And then you can ask an open question.
You can also share an impact that people
Mm-hmm.
had on us.
All good. But just to bring back to the order, we reflect back, first of all, what we heard them say. Then we're acknowledging their feelings. And then we're acknowledging the intention behind, where that's appropriate. We share impact and ask open-ended questions. And so what I would probably encourage you to do is to see this as a circle, and like you're the dot in the middle. So it doesn't always have to be linear. Okay, start with facts, then with feelings, then intention, then this, then that. Because after a while, that will feel robotic to the person who is being listened to. So if you can imagine yourself more in the center of this circle, like the spoke on your bike's wheel, the hub, and you can go, okay, it's most appropriate now that I reflect back what they said. Maybe it's more important that I reflect back the feelings or the intention. So, or maybe it's the impact. So again, when you're starting, don't hesitate to go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how you'll learn it. But once you get comfortable at that, you will allow yourself to flow to whichever is the most. So when Lisa and I were at the workshop, I just reflected back a little bit and then said about and you've always felt that you've been alone. I didn't feel it was necessary to add anything else. Just to leave that there. Because I wanted her to feel validated, that someone's heard and seen you, that all your life you felt alone. Didn't need to add anything else. I could have done. Maybe it would have been better. I'll never know. And this is a wonderful thing. You reflect back, you share impact, you ask questions, and then you observe the impact that has on the other person. And hopefully they open up and talk more. Sometimes it goes completely the other way. They close down and you realize you've said something which is, but it's not you. It's not you. And that's just part of the journey you have to go on in listening. Never take it personally. If someone doesn't want to open up, someone closes down, it's never you. Assuming you're not being an idiot and being offensive, but you're lovely people, that's not going to happen. So it's not you, it's the reaction in them. But often I will just reflect back the impact. I noticed as I said that your whole body language changed. You closed your arms. You scowled at me. I'm sensing those words had quite a bit of impact for you. What was it that I said that triggered that? So you can try that. Okay, lastly, remember we said about embodying space and embracing the silence. So last few things for me to say here, and then we'll have a little bit of time of practice. Empathetic listening does not seek to remedy the other person, doesn't seek to fix them or solve their problems. That's not what we're trying to do. We are instead trying to create an environment where the individual feels empowered to talk about what's going on in their life, to articulate their experiences, to share how they're feeling, to process their vulnerabilities. So in the hearing themselves, being seen, heard, understood, validated, they get a sense of how to move forward in their situation. I think when we listen at this deepest level, it is really the highest form of service we can do for others. And I think it is the foundation of leadership. If if leaders won't listen to you, they're not leading. They're not leading. So what I'd like to do is pop you into some groups of 2. And where you will spend 5 minutes. So if I was in with Nonna, she would talk to me about something. I would listen for 3 or 4 minutes. So she would talk for 3-4 minutes, and then I would feedback. I would reflect back for 1 to 2 minutes, and then give her a further chance to add to that. Does that make sense? So if it was Catherine would speak, I would listen. When she'd finished speaking, I would then feed back. I would begin to reflect back to her the facts, the feelings, everything in there. And then I would give her a chance to say if there's anything else. And we'll take about 5-6 minutes per person, so we'll have 12. What would be a good question to well, I'm sorry, those of you who know me know I cannot think and do something at the same time. So what would be a good question that we do? A thought, as I said, that dropped into my mind about something you wish in your life was different. Would that be okay? I think it's meaningful enough to have good conversations, but again, use wisdom about what you would choose to talk about. 3, 6, 8. For some reason, it's not adding me to the rooms. So this is because I've never done this before, why it's taking so long. I'm going to add a room. Lisa, it will look like you're going into a room on your own. I will then try and join you in that room. Or I tell you what, when you go into that room, if you come out of the room, it'll bring you back into this space and you and I can chat together on that. So let's hope this works. Okay? See you on the other side. Hey, we got. Let me just stop the recording.